is because I know what the genesis of this is. But this resolution is, I believe, historic in more ways than one. All right. So when we talk about our English learners and making a commitment to them as far as their academic success is concerned, and that commitment emanating from the state, us adopting it, that is historic. And so when you talk about that, when all of you talk about that, I think that is, it's fantastic. But one of the things that I have talked about since I've been on this board is that the kids who attend school in West Contra Costa USD, whether they are English learners or standard English learners, they have the same issues and they have the same problems academically. Their scores are almost the same. They talk the same. I mean, they have the same issues, but they're treated differently. And, you know, one of the things that I've had conversations about, particularly with older African Americans when I'm talking about the scores, and, you know, I'll lay the scores out. I'll say, okay, African American students are performing, you know, at this level, Asian students are here, and Latinos are here. And one of the things that I have heard consistently, to be honest, is surprise that African American students are not doing as well as our English learners sometimes. I've heard this multiple times where people will say, you know, this is our native language, so they make assumptions, and then I get this surprise. And one of the things that's so beautiful, and I mean beautiful, is not an exaggeration. One of the things that's so beautiful about this resolution is it is acknowledging that we have two sets of students who are in the same environment, who face the same issues, and who need the same help. And I believe if you want to talk about policies being passed that have big impact, or that can have big impact, that could actually change things, this is one of them. So I want to thank everybody who has worked on this. I want to thank people for seeing the potential for crossover in this, because this is something, and you always talk about implementation and things needing to be implemented, but if we pull this off, and I think we can, this is going to be phenomenal, for our students. This is a story, Mr. Duffy, when you talk about telling our story, this is a story that should be told. When you go, and particularly, not just when you go to African American groups, you need to talk about this, because this is something that has been on folks' minds, whether staff hears it or not. This is something that's been on folks' minds for a long time. Because one of the things that this is talking about, even though it doesn't say it, it's talking about parity, right? And recognizing that everybody needs this type of help. And I really believe this, and people will appreciate this. Our parents or our English learners will appreciate, our African American, they will appreciate this. I also want to thank staff for taking this back, because I remember, this came up earlier, and we had the conversation around MDAC not actually reviewing this. And I remember when we had the conversations, I could be, I'm going to apologize a little bit. I could be a little rough sometimes. And it may not always be the easiest when I'm up here, because I'm a very passionate person, and my mother will say it too. You're a little rough, but I'm so glad that you guys did take this back, and you didn't bring it back immediately. Right? That was a while ago when you guys were here. But what happened is you guys took the time and you came up with a beautiful piece of work that can help change lives. And so I know sometimes we want to do things quickly. Sometimes I want us to do things quickly. But there is this line or this balancing act, right, between taking the time to get it right and getting the product done expeditiously. And I think you guys hit the balance. I'm going to stop now, but I want to say thank you to everybody who worked on this, because I think this is something that will have a impact district-wide, and it's something that needs to be told. I honestly, when we were talking about willful defiance and how that impacts kids, and this is just as big in a different way, but this is just as big. So thank you very much for taking the time to do this and to do it right.
Thank you, Trustee Phillips. Trustee Cuevas.
Just on that sentiment, I'm going to go ahead and motion this resolution that we approve it, and if we can get a second, we can have more conversation. But I just want to honor the fact that I think we're doing a good thing, so I'd like to motion approval of this resolution.
And seconded by Trustee Phillips. Okay.
And then my
additional comments?
Yeah. So I think part of what I find inherent is a commitment to meeting kids where they're at and serving them really well. The notion of we're going to help kids develop academic language mastery so that they're successful throughout their life, whether they want to go to college, whether they want to go to a trade school, whether they just want to be engaged civically in their community. This is a commitment to them no matter who they are. And that's something that we've been doing really well for some students historically. And this is our commitment to say we're going to do it really well for all students. That level of that Trustee Phillips talked about in relation to the needs of kids, we know there's lots of students who fit those categories depending on what part of the region of the world and what part of the region of this country that you're in. In Hawaii, there's a whole set of English language learners that really mix native Hawaiian language and struggle around mastering academic language. And in the South of the United States, there's a whole other issue around that as well. And in the Southwest, it's English language learners, and we are in the Bay Area where there are so many new entry refugee students. We're making a commitment to them that no matter what year, what level they join us, we're going to help them master academic language as well to be successful. So I'm proud of the work that this district has done, and it does come on the precipice of that state commitment. And I would suggest that we look to districts like Los Angeles Unified that have historically talked about how we serve all students and their English language development, regardless of what communities they come from, because there's a whole set of practices around that. But I do think this is, as Trustee Phillips said, this is a bridge, this is a window of opportunity to create common awareness and understanding amongst all our communities in our district. Because for too long, there have been certain issues around who's getting what, and how are we serving this group and not that group. And I think this is, for us, a clear indication that we as a board say we're going to serve everybody really well. And we're going to recognize everybody, because recognition is part of what that is. So with that, I thank the staff for their hard work around this. And I do want to honor the fact that this work didn't just happen yesterday, that historically some folks have been working for years in our district. For example, the woman sitting next to me, around English language development and how we support our students. So this is, again, us building upon and standing upon the shoulders of giants, too. So thank you all for your work related to that.
Thank you, Trustee Cuevas. Trustee Lara.
Yes, I have to agree. This is pretty amazing. The inclusion of it. It's always seemed that there were these two general groups of English learners who may have come to this country recently, and then they follow kind of the textbook language acquisition, and then they master English and they're off on their way. But then we had this other group who were born here. Some of them didn't even speak the home language, but the home language was talked in their home. So they, on the home language survey, they were put into the ELD program. But yet, you know, they didn't speak it even, and they couldn't, and they just kept getting recycled. And it was this issue of they didn't know standard English, and that, you know, and that some of those issues were, like you say, they were exactly the same as the African American students. And this addresses that. This is just, it's great. I'm really impressed, and I'm happy to see it, and anxious to see how it's implemented. I think that's going to be really interesting. The other thing, too, I noticed the seal of biliteracy. I had asked a friend of mine about, she's a teacher, and I asked her about that, and she said she had some, she's an ELD teacher, she had some students who qualified for that, but that there wasn't anybody at the district to assess or at their site. So I was kind of confused about that, how that, you know, and I noticed there's no financial impact, but I mean, I think we would need personnel, right, to assess if students qualify for the seal of biliteracy. So that was my other comment.
And we do that. We have last year a number of our students graduated with the seal of biliteracy, so we can make sure, and happy to talk to whoever that is to make sure we didn't miss anybody somewhere. But we do evaluate students for that. It's a pretty high honor to be able to receive that.
Thank you for that clarification. Trustee Hernandez-Jarvis, did you have any further comments you wanted to make?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I'd certainly like to thank the staff for being so thorough about this, and for the focus on proficiency and for academic language. You know, I noticed the fiscal impact says no direct impact at this time, which suggests that there may be an impact later on, and I don't know what thinking there is, if there's a special plan that's going to be associated with this. But Mr. Duffy, I don't know if you have any thoughts about, you know, financial impact, what it's going to change, what it's not going to change, or we just like, we now have the license to build a plan and we'll move forward from there.
I think that's right. I mean, I think we know we're also not in a position of adding a set of resources like at this time, but it's all about how we do our work as effectively as we can. I don't know if you wanted to add to that.
So I think more than anything, it adds a sense of commitment and vision and big picture on which to be able to anchor different actions, different structures, different alignments for our students to be successful, not only academically, but linguistically as well. Any financial cost would be any of those that are aimed at being able to further being able to increase the quality of instruction as we would do any given year. So there's no particular costs that are associated with this particular resolution per se, but definitely as part of being able to improve the quality of instruction for all of our students. It's an investment that we continue to make every year.
Thank you, Dr. Guerrero. Are we ready to vote on this? Okay, so we have Resolution 45-1819 in support of Proposition 58 and State Board of Education's English Learner Roadmap. All in favor, say aye.
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 Trustee Phillips, please, I'm sorry.
I am in favor. I'm not trying to throw it off. I just wanted to make a comment really quickly.
Please do.
When we are using the informal title, if we can say this is our EL SEL roadmap or something. You know what I mean? Just so we continue on with that same spirit, of inclusion. Yes, I wasn't going to do a secret no vote.
Okay, so let's vote again. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, no, abstain. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Moved by Trustee Cuevas, seconded by Trustee Phillips. Thank you, staff, very much for doing this. It's a big day.